obesity to conquer my enemies in Total Warhammer 3. I don't know what the fuck that means. Like, obesity? How can you use that to conquer? But let's see it. I'm excited.
The gameplay of Warhammer 3 is an obvious allegory for America and its obesity crisis. You start as one of 437 different races and immediately begin killing everyone that looks even remotely different than you. Why?
Holy shit.
Because unless you're some kind of clown-shoed idiot, your short and long-term goal is world domination. You can play as the humble humans.
I love world domination.
Great if you have a low moral barometer and a sexual attraction to artillery pieces, but maybe you'd rather be an anemic sex criminal instead. The dwarves have you covered, and if all else fails, you can always play as a colony of Twitter users. Fascinating creatures.
Holy shit, that's a Risa. A rat.
In reality, it doesn't matter which faction you choose, because much like a cocaine-infused stockbroker, you will inevitably develop an unhealthy relationship with watching numbers go up. Your borders can always be bigger, your income always higher, and of course, you can always accumulate more mass. In a world where there is a one-to-one correlation between your charge damage and your BMI, suddenly being morbidly obese has become the greatest superpower of all. And when it comes to being immensely fat, no one does it better than Grom the Paunch. This heaving green mass of cholesterol is not only sentient, but he's one of the strongest units in the game. Men want to be him, women want to be with him, and today, I am him.
I will agree. I want to be him.
Immediately upon loading, it became clear that I have entered my own personal hell, because I am surrounded on all sides by the French. Jesus Christ, even the vampires are French. I solved this conundrum through careful diplomacy, and by careful diplomacy, I mean I had an obese man drive over their heads in a chariot. With our first enemy fended off, we can now participate in the real gameplay, creating strange and elaborate mukbangs to help Grom on his personal mission to tantalize the Vor community. As you can see here, Grom is starving, obviously, and we're going to need to make him some food. To do this, we need to acquire several obscure ingredients from around the world, which will almost certainly necessitate the eradication of countless civilizations, but their sacrifice is one I am willing to make. Our goal is to create and consume all foods, at which point our purpose in life will be complete, and Grom can die peacefully from a convulsion-inducing heart attack. For now, the easiest way to collect ingredients is to just kill everyone we meet and sort out the tasty parts later. To accomplish this, I have launched a brave and courageous—
What the fuck? That's like... Could you not train? Or is violence the fastest way to reach his goal? I feel like violence typically is the answer, but... Are there other paths?
Courageous eugenics program, whereby whenever a French army spawns, I kill it immediately. My fringe scientific beliefs eventually led me to Bordelot, where we were ambushed by a large quantity of Frenchmen. In such moments, the game will try to gaslight you into believing you're at risk of losing. Allow me to show you why this is literally impossible. As greenskins, you have a wide selection of characters, buttons, and settings, but only one of them is actually worth pressing, because when your total lack of brain activity inevitably causes you to start losing a battle, I want you to slam your forehead through the emergency glass and press this button. The WA button instantly buffs your entire army and heals it for 50% of its health. With such immense power, we can effectively neglect any tactical decision making and instead focus on meaningful gameplay decisions, such as using a homeless lady to vomit on unsuspecting peasants. Following this, we were given a quest by a
What the fuck? This is amazing! Wait, this is amazing!
decapitated head, which my psychiatrist assures me is not normal. Regardless, after completing said quest, we were awarded with a stone golem, which is—
I have a science degree, chat. It's normal. And now we have a fucking stone golem.
definitely not overpowered to have on turn 4. After that, we invaded Castle Bordelot and successfully renovated it into a heaping pile of shit. Understandably upset by this, our French enemies launched one final assault on us, armed with Odo and 39 people he found at the bus stop. This was a poor decision on their part. The rapid expansion of our empire had regrettably drawn the attention of the greater francophone hive mind, which caused the Fey Enchantress to declare war on us. She attacked us with an army of mounted knights. However, we have the perfect and most dangerous counter to cavalry, a 15-degree incline. The very concept of a non-uniform Earth caused her cavalry to absolutely lose their minds and enter a profound state of psychosis. In response, I did the only humane thing possible, which was to complete an industrial amount of mercy killings. With the Fey Enchantress now defeated, it is time to break several—
Holy crap! This guy, he's actually using obesity to kill everything.
International treaties by ingesting our enemies. It's around this time people you don't know will start paying you extortion money you didn't ask for. By this point, our reputation had increased enough to allow us to press the only other button that matters in the game, Call to Wa. By pressing this, we can designate a city to destroy and double the size of all of our armies for 20 turns.
Yes.
If Grom was a car, this would be the equivalent of not only uninstalling his brakes, but replacing them with another acceleration pedal. I chose Castle Carcassonne as our target and plowed Grom into it at 300 miles per hour. Needless to say, there were no survivors. This was the last of our enemies' territories, which effectively rendered them homeless. And in this game, much like in real life, for every turn you are homeless, you slowly but noticeably decompose a little more. But Grom does not care, because I just realized the Wood Elves have invaded Paravent. And little did they know, I had already developed a parasocial relationship with that exact settlement, and their
What the fuck?
invasion of it unofficially and then officially meant war. With our army still chubbed up from our favorite button, I decided to invade the Wood Elf territories. Fighting the Wood Elves is a lot like fighting the Viet Cong. You are going to be shot by people you can't see, develop a rational fear of trees, and then experience PTSD for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that seems I'd get PTSD if the trees came to life and started beating my ass.
It's a dirty job, but someone has to do it, because they're dangerous. I mean, would you really trust your kids around this man?
And a tree, my Goomba was shocking my cock.
I didn't think so. We marched right into their capital and began our siege. I deployed my army in no particular order, but still managed to crush the Wood Elves under the weight of 8,000 goblin spearmen. Oh, and we also did this to them. They really didn't like that. I would occupy the settlement, but it's just so...
I also wouldn't really like the lore of death, but here we are.
goddamn disgusting, I decided to leave and never come back. By this point, we collected 8 ingredients. A good start, but we still have a lot of work to do. Fortunately, a food merchant appeared on the map to help us out. There's a couple of ways to interact with the food merchant. For example, we can buy ingredients from her, rob her for money, or cook food for her in exchange for upgrades to our cauldron. I chose the last option. However, the food merchant speaks exclusively in some kind of goblin ebonics, which makes
Me wants some fink with flying gubazin. A dish won't need 3 things in it. The fuck? I like her.
Makes it just about impossible to decipher what the fuck she is actually saying. But we can deal with that later. We have more important things to tend to. A man we don't know explained he wants to kill us. Ikid is still paying us money to leave him alone. And the most French man to have ever lived declared war on us. It's around this time you will realize playing Grom the Paunch is effectively an exercise in resistance. The rest of the world is staging a violent intervention to prevent us from eating ourselves into a diabetic coma, and we must resist. To this effect,
Didn't they literally do this to Napoleon? I learned.
hired a new commander, Gorebirds, and gave him an army. I put Gorebirds in charge of the neighborhood watch, which meant that roughly once every 5 turns he would see Orion and subsequently beat him to death for trying to leave the enchanted forest. This worked very well, and it allowed Grom to plow northward, eventually defeating Luan in a series of battles that could only be described as unethical. By this point, we had effectively converted the French countryside into something vaguely resembling Canada, but there's still one issue. Quebec. I declared war on the undead and began ransacking their armies. I'd like to say it is very difficult to kill a ghost with a
I was gonna say, how do you kill something if it's already dead?
catapult, but not impossible. With most of Bretonia now thoroughly under our control, I decided to do 2 very important things. First, I researched a revolutionary artillery platform that allows me to dress my goblins up like cute little trick-or-treaters. Look at him. He thinks he's a bat. But don't get too attached, and definitely don't name them, because they have pledged fealty to the Empire of the Rising Sun, and the next thing we're doing is launching them from a catapult as kamikaze dive bombers. Because after all, why bother buying
I'm sad, I got attached already.
explosives when you can be the explosive. Apart from this, I sent one of my armies out to explore the wonderful and enchanting ocean in search of delicious aquatic ingredients, and they were killed immediately by Somali pirates. This didn't upset me as much as it caused me to fly into a blind rage and immediately begin building the most immoral army possible in an effort to punish the world for my misfortune. 11 snotling pump wagons and 8 trebuchets, don't mind if I do. To be clear, I don't even want to play this army, because microing 11 cavalry units requires a level of attention that I am simply not capable of. You see, my brain is powered by a single Nigerian man running on a hamster wheel, and I fear that managing this army may in fact result in his death. But we'll never be able to achieve our dream of congestive heart failure if we aren't willing to make a few sacrifices, so let's continue. With our French enemies now lying in various stages of decomposition, I took a few turns to figure out our place in the world, which is apparently 22nd. That's right, we're not even on the podium, but we can fix that with one simple trick. Another call to Wa. By literally doubling our standing military, we've...
Dude, the answer to everything is Wa!
gone from rank 22 to rank 3. This is troubling because it means there are 2 other factions that are more than twice as powerful as us. Regardless, I can't risk our food quest being jeopardized by a larger faction, so we have to become the larger faction, which means that some people need to die. If you recall, about 20 turns ago, the dwarves body-shamed Grom pretty viciously, and that shit doesn't fly around here, so we're going to go stab them to death with spears. I declared their capital city as the target of our Wa and began assembling my armies. I decided it might be beneficial to have a path into the Dwarven Mountains, and the only one available was through the Wood Elves. So I opted to kill Orion and take his fancy little treehouse. Unfortunately, this caused Findal to become scared, and he declared war on us, so we killed him, which resulted in Daith becoming frightened and declaring war on us, so we killed him too. But then
holy shit! There's war in Warhammer!
Thu got upset, so we had to kill him, which caused both Ellen and Eltharion to get upset, but unfortunately, we haven't researched intercontinental ballistic missiles, so we'll kill them later. By the end of it, I had personally slaughtered 10,079 people just to get to the dwarves. If
all this to eat? That's intense!
I was a dwarf, I would be mildly concerned by that statistic. Helman Gorst certainly was, because he attempted to befriend me by donating 300 gold. Obviously, I accepted and then declared war on him immediately after.
That's so evil.
It's not personal, Hellman. I just really need a test subject for the meme team. So I invaded his settlement. Honestly, the army is beautiful in a Francisco Goya kind of way. 11 squadrons of deranged mushroom enthusiasts being supported by 24 catapults. It's all I've ever wanted. The game plan is to entangle the pump wagons with the enemy forces and cause a large-scale traffic jam in the middle of the map. Once that has been accomplished, the pump wagons will call in an artillery strike on their own position, thus obliterating everything in the process. Needless to say, this was very entertaining to witness. This is such a fucking stupid army. And after 15 minutes...
That's so goofy.
minutes of bulldozing zombies and pelting them with mini-fridge-sized rocks, we had managed to kill 1,812 enemies. They had managed to kill 34, seemingly not at all demoralized by losing a battle with a casualty ratio of 53 to 1. Hellman kept attacking us. You'd think his original defeat would have taught him a lesson, but some people, they have to learn the same lesson over and over and over. Eventually, we managed to...
How many times I gotta teach that old man the same lesson?
Send Hellman to the retirement home in the sky when Grom broke every bone in his body by hitting him with a car. That was a fun distraction. Now, back to the dwarves. With direct access to the Dwarven Mountains, I was able to send Gorebirds to Karak Izor and Karak Bufdar to claim them for my food empire. I even managed to find a new ingredient in the process. The main Dwarven army was actually located to the south at Maragliano, where they were busy harassing my Skaven submissive. I sent Gorebirds down there to sort things out. Their army actually looked a little intimidating because they have Apache attack helicopters, but unfortunately for them, we have people who are willing to destroy their helicopters by launching themselves headfirst into the propellers. After a little more careful diplomacy...
Oh my god. That's evil, isn't it? A little bit. You gotta do what you gotta do to eat, though.
See, we managed to defeat the dwarf army. The loss of 90% of their military and 3 of their largest cities caused them to drop from strength rank 15 to rank 103, and we went all the way up to rank 2. Very cool. While this was going on, I stumbled across another food merchant with a substantially less cryptic food request. She wants a pie. I can do that. The only issue is, we don't really have any conventional pie ingredients, so we're going to have to push the theoretical boundaries on what exactly it means to be a pie. For example, is a severed foot submerged in a vial of semen a pie? Apparently it is, and she loved it.
What the fuck? Why is that a pie? What kind of pie is that?
With that,
This hag is freaky.
We have now unlocked a new ingredient slot, which will allow us to make more potent food going forward. For example, we can combine monster goo with troll meat and phoenix claws to produce the following. Grom gets 100 weapon damage and sundering attacks. Our
Yes, Grom can eat more, yes. Do I like pie? Not that pie!
Goblins get a regeneration ability as well as flaming arrows, and our trolls get sexually transmitted diseases. That's pretty good. Now with 12 foods, I think it's time to conduct our ingredient hunt in a more deliberate manner. Each of the 13 remaining food items actually tells us how to get them. For example, to unlock harpy heads, we have to sack a dark elf settlement. That doesn't sound too hard, until you realize the closest dark elf settlement is across the fucking ocean. So at this point, the game turns into a scavenger hunt, but with substantially more violence. I figured the best approach to this would be to divide and conquer, so I've elected 3 generals to lead the expedition to the grocery store that is this world. First, we have Rachnic Spiderclaw. He's a unique lord that provides special buffs to spider-based units in his army. So I equipped him with a highly diverse army of goblins, goblins riding spiders, and goblins riding really big spiders that can also summon additional smaller spiders.
That's fucking horrifying, chat. I hate spiders. That's freaky.
Next, we have Gorebirds. I've specialized him into providing buffs for trolls and giants, so his army is composed mostly of totally normal and socially well-adjusted individuals. Nice. Then we have Oglok the Orrible, who is specialized in the use of weaponized pigs. Between these 3 geniuses, I feel very confident in our chances of tracking down the final ingredients. But first, I need to steal 30 seconds of your time to coerce you into developing a caffeine addiction. I've recently struck up a partnership with GamerSups, which is a company that sells delicious energy supplements and 100% socially acceptable receptacles to put them in. In fact, just last week, I went to an ultra-orthodox bar mitzvah with a shaker cup full of titty milk. Everyone there was clearly jealous because they couldn't stop asking me questions such as, "Who are you?" and "How did you get in here?" This level
This is a popularity I want, chat. I want to be like that.
Full of popularity could be yours if only you are brave enough to wield a waifu cup to your next family gathering. If this interests you, I encourage you to visit the link on screen or in the pinned comment and use code REGGIE for 10% off. Thank you, GamerSups. Now let's get back to the video. While I was recruiting the units for my new army, I decided to start the scavenger hunt with Grom and Gorebirds. The first and easiest ingredient to find was goldfish. All I had to do was sack an empire settlement. No problem. In fact, the empire is really...
This guy's a master at killing and sacking these settlements and kingdoms.
struggling this game. Somehow they've become loosely subjugated by Vlad von Karstein, who is strength rank 4. This presented me with a unique dilemma. Our previous WAs have been successful, and they awarded me with a big trophy, but not the biggest trophy. That could only be attained by defeating a top 10 enemy, such as Vlad von Karstein. I didn't need to declare war on him, but in a much more real way, I really wanted to. So in an act of wanton gluttony, I created a new WA targeting Vlad's capital city, and over the next 20 turns, Grom and Gorebirds carved their way through the undead region. Vlad himself was an unkillable monstrosity who could best be described as a bipedal euthanasia factory. Fortunately for us, he suffers from a crippling degree of separation anxiety, and if you kill all of his friends, he will literally disintegrate. Once we worked out that critical flaw, Grom was able to fight his way to Castle Drakenhof, which he claimed through the use of really big ladders and lots of violence. By this point, the war had geographically bisected the undead faction. As you can imagine, this was not good for the economy. In fact, the only units Vlad could afford to recruit were level 1 zombies. That being said, he could afford a lot of level 1 zombies.
Holy shit, they're like ants, chat. Do you see that? That's scary. That's actually scary.
I know this because the next thing he did was attack me with 5,017 of them. I would spend 20 minutes slowly chopping my way through thousands of undead, only to be greeted by enemy reinforcements have arrived, and the sight of thousands more on the horizon. There's something vaguely traumatic about fighting an enemy that, despite being flattened, perforated, and impaled, just keeps on coming. The only good thing about having to kill 5,000 people is that once you're done, apparently you get $17,000. Anyway, with this victory, the vampires were relegated to geopolitical obscurity, and I can now sleep at night because I have the biggest trophy. By this point, my recruiting was complete, so I decided to send Rachnik and Oglok to the far corners of the map to collect a few ingredients. Oglok would go to the jungles of the southeast to find lizard legs, winged leather, and centaur milk. Rachnik, on the other hand, would be exploring the ocean in search of hard-shell crab, pufferfish, and harpy heads. Rachnik sailed successfully across the ocean, eventually arriving in Lustria, where we sacked a pirate settlement to receive hard-shell crab. I attempted to kill
We're sacking everything for food!
Luther Harkon for additional ingredients, but
milk.
quickly realized that an army of funny green men on spiders was no match for an army of cannons. 5 turns later, Rachnik had been resurrected, and now with a slightly more responsible build, we sailed up the coast to the Dark Elves and absolutely obliterated one of their settlements to gain harpy heads. I thought it would be kind of awkward to try and explain that I burnt their city to the ground for some sandwich meat, so instead, I pretended to be a warmongering maniac. After defeating one of their armies, we also acquired Dragontail. This is objectively the best ingredient if you are not just trying to defeat your enemies, but also psychologically destroy them, because Dragontail makes all of your goblins fire explosive ammunition. Of course, this is perfectly balanced and not at all unfair when you have 12 stacks of archers. Apart from
Holy shit. This guy's a monster.
this, we also found the Sword of Cain. Apparently, it's an immensely powerful weapon that slowly drives its wielder insane. So obviously, I had to have it. Following this, Rachnik returned to the Maelstrom to exact his revenge upon the pirates. After a little bit of this, and a lot of that, he had his last ingredient, pufferfish. While this was going on, I stumbled upon a hilariously awful dwarf army composed entirely of rock miners. I thought it would be kind of ironic to kill them with rocks, so I did.
He just did that for fun. Like, he just killed them with rocks for fun.
Say whatever you want about me, but I will literally kill 900 midgets for even the smallest amount of observational humor. But that's beside the point. Let's see how Oglok is doing. You might think Rachnik had it hard being shot to death with cannons at the start of his food quest, but Oglok had it even worse. Within the first 5 turns of him being alive, he was attacked by ogres, contracted the plague, and the hospital he was recovering in was hit by several rocket barrages from ultra-nationalist humans. This resulted in the immediate death of about half of his army. After recovering, I sent him south to harvest ingredients from the lizard men, which was when this happened. Yeah, that's really not good. The Black Pyramid of Nagash has awakened, spawning 9 late-game armies.
That's horrifying. This is the Illuminati.
That are hostile to everything, and especially to Oglok, who just happens to be like 50 feet away. But that's when I realized something. To unlock the milk ingredient, we have to kill a creature with 6 limbs. These necrosphinx have 6 limbs. That's right, boys. We're gonna milk a necrosphinx. I don't physically know how, but I do know we'll be needing some help. So I captured a settlement in the region and formed 2 new armies, led by Bladub Spidakilla and Gorf. Okay, we're just gonna call him Gorf. Anyway, the boys ambushed one of the skeleton armies, and after encircling it, we managed to milk the Necrosphinx. That is definitely not a euphemism for group masturbation. This was technically a success, but we had to use 5,500 people to do it, so I was still pretty frightened. I opted to ignore the end of the world, and instead focus on attacking the lizard men. We needed to kill their Stegodon for lizard legs, and their pterodactyls for leather. This would normally be difficult if we didn't have 9 stacks of black orcs, which are the objective best counter to every unit in the game. Following this victory, we now have 23 out of 25 ingredients. All that's left is tentacles and lion meat. For the tentacles, we have to sack a Norscan settlement. Vikings, meet 12 catapults. Wow, they get along so well. For the final ingredient, we just need to defeat an army containing lions. The best I could find was this high elf doom stack, so I drove Grom into it head first. The battle was actually fairly challenging, mostly because we were outnumbered and my AI reinforcements decided to deploy their army backwards, sprint into the woods, and die. Fortunately, by this point, Grom had so many layers of protective fat that he was functionally invincible, and we managed to eke out a victory. Hundreds of thousands had to die, but we have finally completed our grocery list.
That's so worth. The world is his grocery store.
All that's left now is to cook every possible dish and feed them to Grom. The only issue is, for some reason, goblin cuisine requires large quantities of scrap metal, and we have spent most of ours on upgrading our units, so we need to do a little farming. Luckily, raiding enemy territory produces scrap, so I took 3 of my armies and
I thought he was gonna go mining. I didn't realize more
sent them to raid Volkmar the Grim, because he's kind of an uppity asshole.
I would lay down my
Fuck
life
this
if
guy.
it would rid the world of you and your kind.
Okay.
Every single turn, we were stealing 125% of his city's entire GDP, resulting in the kind of economic devastation that is only ever theorized in textbooks. Anyway, I've got my scrap, and I spent the next 8 turns feeding Grom the most bizarre food combinations I could come up with, and by the end of it, he was officially bloated and unstoppable. It's a happy ending for
Bloated.
everyone, unless your name is... Vlad von Karstein, Heinrich Kemmler, Daith Durthu, Findal Orion, Count Noctilus, Luther Harkon, Karl Franz, Belagor Ironhammer, Tic-Tac-Toe, the Black Pyramid of Nagash, Marathi, Scrag the Slaughterer, Throg Eltharion, or anyone even remotely French. I want to thank this month's patrons for making these videos possible, and finally, thank you for watching.
Holy crap, that was fun. Well, chat, if you want to know how to use Obesity to conquer your enemies, there it was. Wow. I'm gonna install the game. Thank you guys so much for watching me watch. I use Obesity to conquer my enemies in Total Warhammer 3. And thank you so much, Reggie, for making that video. I hope you guys had fun watching me react. And yeah, that's about it.